I'm Julie ZENNER, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North. President Donald Trump was in the region for the second time in less than 2 weeks. We'll have more from the president's visit. We'll tell you how the American Heart Association's Don't Die of Doubt campaign may have saved one Duluth man's life. And we'll continue our special Meet Your Candidates coverage with Minnesota House and Senate races. These stories and more next on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. Dennis is off this week as we alternate hosting the program during the pandemic. Our show was recorded on Thursday afternoon, and our program this week is dedicated to our good friend and colleague Larry Erickson. Larry's last day at WDSE WRPT as the chief engineer is today as he heads to retirement. We thank Larry for his dedication to our station and getting Almanac North on the air each week. Well, we begin with some of the top stories from the region. Cleveland Cliffs will become the largest iron ore pellet producer in North America after announcing a deal to acquire ArcelorMittal USA plants on the Iron Range. Cliffs will buy the Minorca mine and Mittal's stake in the Hibbing taconite plant for $1.4 billion. Besides the range facilities, the deal includes 6 steelmaking plants, 8 finishing facilities, and other assets. On Wednesday, President Donald Trump signed an executive order and declared a national emergency to expand the mining industry. Administration officials say the action will cut down on unnecessary delays in permitting and reduce reliance on Chinese minerals. We'll have more on the president's campaign stop in Duluth later on in the show. The Duluth City Council okayed $300,000 of financial support for Spirit Mountain this week. The struggling recreation complex in western Duluth has been idled since May by the COVID-19 pandemic. The cash infusion will allow Spirit Mountain to open in time for the ski season. The Duluth Folk School has outgrown its Lincoln Park space and is looking for a site with acreage near the city. Folk School leaders released a sketch of what a rural campus could look like. The school teaches art, crafts, and living skills and currently shares space with the Dovetail Cafe and Marketplace. Well, turning now to other news, the American Heart Association is urging people not to be afraid to see their doctor if they don't feel right. Since the COVID-19 pandemic began, hospitals have seen about a 40% drop in visits to the emergency room. The Heart Association's Don't Die of Doubt campaign urges people not to ignore signs of heart attack or stroke. Our guest took that advice, and it may have helped save a life. Joining us now is Jerry CHIAVERINI, who had chest pressure but didn't want to bother busy doctors. And his wife, Laura Lee, is a registered nurse who convinced him to have it checked out. And thanks to both of you for being here. Really nice to have you here. And Jerry, especially nice to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Maybe you could start by just telling us when you first began to feel like something was not right with your health.
Well, you know, I took a bike ride and I was into it for about a mile, and I started getting this like almost a discomfort in my chest, almost like a indigestion. And so I stopped. I took a couple of deep breaths. I had some water. It went away, so I continued with my bike ride, and I rode probably about 15 miles. Went home, took a little bit of a break, cut the grass, and it really never reoccurred again. So I didn't think too much of it. I did mention to my wife a little bit that what happened, and then a couple of days later I took a walk, and I was walking, and I had the same kind of discomfort. Mm-hmm. And so I told my wife, I said, you know, I had this happen again, you know, and you know, I'm not really sure, you know, what it could be in that. So she was thinking, and then I sort of let it go a little bit, and then I cut the grass on a Saturday again, and it came back. So then I talked to her about it again, and then that's when she said to me, you know, I think, you know, we should get this checked out. She said, the American Heart Association has a new campaign, Don't Die of Doubt. And she says, this keeps going over in my mind, and she said, I think this is something that, you should take serious. And well, then I did, and we did call the doctor on call, and he explained to me that it could be heart disease. And so then he said, come in for some tests, take it easy. If you have more, go to the emergency room. But, and then Monday I did go in, and then they did the tests. And then following Thursday and Friday, I did more tests than that. So, and then they found out that I did have blockages, and I needed to have a bypass of that. So.
Wow. Now, Laura Lee, you're a registered nurse, I understand?
Yes.
Were you immediately concerned when Jerry started telling you about the symptoms that he was having?
Not immediately concerned, because I think you kind of want to deny that there could be something seriously wrong with your loved one. And so he described it as indigestion the first time, and he was able to complete his 16-mile bike ride. The second time he mentioned it, it caused me a little more concern. And the Wednesday before, I had gotten an email at work asking for us to participate in the Don't Die of Doubt campaign. And unfortunately, I was not able to participate in that campaign, but the name of the campaign kind of stuck with me. So then I saw it on social media as well, and then that Saturday, and he mentioned it to me now for the third time. He was sitting in a chair in the living room. I had my shoes on. I was ready to take him to the emergency room. He was hesitant, and I just said, Jerry, I don't want you to sit here and die from doubt. I said, we have to do something and get this checked out. And so then at that point, he did agree.
Now, of course, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Jerry, was that part of the concern that maybe prevented you from going in earlier than you did? Were you cautious about going to a doctor at that point?
Yeah, it always comes up in your mind. You don't want to unnecessarily go to the doctor unless you have to, And with the pandemic, that's even more prevalent now. So that was one of those things. Well, I just didn't want it to be something simple, because you have to go to the emergency room, and you're in contact with there's other people in the emergency room. So that did have a bit of a factor. But now knowing that. St. Luke's has a great process. They made me feel really safe when I did go in for my procedure and that. So it's, again, one of those things. So you don't have to worry about that. They take precautions in that. So.
With heart attacks and stroke, always the message is that time is of the essence. By the time you went to the doctor, was there a real urgency for the surgery to occur, more so than if you had gone in a week earlier?
Well, yeah, they wanted to take care of it as soon as they could. So then that's when they decided, well, then a week later that I'd go in and have it. Of course they told me to take it easy, and I had some medication that I was taking. Of course, if anything came up, I was supposed to go in to the emergency room if anything got worse than that. So, but I didn't make it. And then the Friday, August 7th, and that's when I had the bypass. Yeah.
Was it at an urgent space where he could have potentially died?
Yes, absolutely. Dr. Mary Boylan was his surgeon, and her exact words to us were, he was riding on a cliff. And it was simply a matter of time, and not a lot of time. So it was very, very important that he got the care that he did and when he did.
What kind of protocols were in place when you went into the hospital that maybe reassured you that things were in a good place as far as being there with the COVID crisis in place?
Well, it's just that they have mask-wearing masks, and they just sort of walked you through it of how they wanted you to, they gave us a good, information on what to do, in the sense, so you didn't feel like you were exposed or threatened by the COVID and that.
As a nurse, are you seeing fewer patients coming in for office visits these days?
Well, I work in the Coumadin Clinic at St. Luke's, and we actually initially were seeing quite a reduction in people coming in. They were very concerned about getting their routine blood tests, and we St. Luke's came up with a drive-through, a mobile lab, so people only had to drive up and put their hand out the window, have their blood tests done, and be on their way. So that really dramatically helped our population, because they were very concerned, are very concerned about actually walking in. Mm-hmm. And if they don't have to, they're happy about that.
Mm-hmm. And are you getting the sense from talking with your colleagues in healthcare that it's a real concern amongst professionals that people are not coming in and getting the care that they need?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, and that's something else that Dr. Boylan had mentioned to us, is that people are not coming in, and that for Jerry it was a circle that was very important, that it all happened as it did. He recognized the symptoms, he talked to me about it, I had this Don't Die of Doubt campaign in my mind, and we acted on it. Mm-hmm. And if any one of those steps didn't happen, the outcome could have been very different. So we, Dr. Boylan was saying, again, how very important it is for people to still seek medical care in spite of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Did the American Heart Association reach out to the two of you to share your story?
Yeah,
How did that come about?
Well, I think they saw it on Facebook, and my wife put it on. It was on Facebook, and I think they saw it there, and then that's when they saw the story, and they thought they would get in contact with us and see if we'd tell the story. And when they contacted us and they said, about tell your story, I thought, well, if I can help one person, get in and get taken care of, so they have a good outcome, that would be the thing to do. And they do such a great job mm-hmm. of getting, messages out and getting, having different campaigns, and so I thought, wow, this would be a great thing to get people to act, and go in and get taken care of, so that they don't have a bad outcome.
Mm-hmm. How does it feel to be in the spotlight?
I find it a little uncomfortable. We are not used to this at all. But I agree with Jerry. I mean, he was very passionate about that this is something very important. The message has to get out. The message resonated with me, the Don't Die of Doubt. I talked to him about it, and I truly believe that was the catalyst that got him to agree to pick up that phone and call the doctor.
Mm-hmm. And what are the main message then to our viewers who might be putting off going to a doctor or hesitating when they feel some symptoms?
Don't hesitate. I added my own tagline, Don't Die of Doubt, check it out. Mm-hmm. And that's not only in relationship to heart disease, but to any health concerns. I would not put off health care at this point.
Mm-hmm. And Jerry, where do things stand right now? Are you 100% healthy
yeah,
again?
Well, right now
I'm
8 weeks, from surgery. So I'm doing good. I'm doing rehab. I'm feeling good. I still have to take it easy so that I can heal up. Mm-hmm. So I have another about 4 months before I'm can do anything I want to do.
4 weeks.
4 weeks. I'm sorry. 4 weeks. Yeah. And so again, everything that went at St. Luke's was a great experience. They took very good care of me, made me very, very safe, and I couldn't say enough of good things about St. Luke's and the care I had, and still the care I'm getting from the rehab and that. But yeah, I think that people should, take it serious, and if you have something, get it checked out.
All right. Well, Jerry and Laura Lee, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story, and thank God you were on the ball with that. It's really a heartwarming story.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having us.
President Donald Trump is making it clear he wants to win Minnesota. In his race to retain the White House, the Republican presidential candidate visited Duluth Wednesday. A crowd estimated in the thousands gathered at the Duluth International Airport for the rally. Trump fired up his followers, celebrating jobs on the Iron Range, saying, quote, "Obama closed the Iron Range and I opened it." He also touched on the first debate, Antifa, law enforcement, and health care, to name a few of the topics.
Never forget, they are coming after me because I am fighting for you, and that's true. And this is a choice election. Our opponents put America last. I put America first, and that's what I've been doing for 3.5 years.
It was the second time in less than 2 weeks that the president visited the Northland. Vice President Mike Pence has also been here, along with Trump children Ivanka and Donald Trump Jr. in separate visits. We continue now with our coverage of candidates running for the legislature in the region. Meet Your Candidates will focus this week on 3 northern Minnesota races. First, we will hear from the candidates in House District 3A, a large district that includes all of Koochiching and Cook counties, a large portion of northern St. Louis County, and all of Lake County except 2 harbors. We'll hear first from incumbent Democrat Rob Eklund, followed by Republican challenger Thomas Manninen.
Good afternoon. Thank you, WDSC, for allowing us to do these candidate profiles. I'm at a rally in Smoky Bear Park today, so you'll hear some honking in the background, but this is a little bit about myself. I'm State Representative Rob Eklund. I've been married to my wife Joan for 36 years, and we have 3 adult children that live throughout the state of Minnesota. I'm running for re-election because my community has been good to me. Standing here in Smoky Bear Park, these folks have taken great care of me, and I want to make sure I take care of them as well. And I feel the same way about the rest of the communities across my district. We all have our special needs and wants and things that need to be done, whether it be infrastructure or road improvements. But I want to make sure that I can give back to all these communities because they treat all of our citizens and members as the people that live and belong here. So I want to again thank WDSC, and I'm Rob Eklund, and I'm running for District 3A, re-election for District 3A representative.
My name is Thomas Manninen, and I am running for the Minnesota State House of Representatives in District 3A. I spent most of my life in Little Fork, Minnesota, and my experience in the Northland led me to run for public office. For far too long, our representation has not advocated for our area, and our government down in St. Paul is focused solely on the interests of Minneapolis and St. Paul. I aim to change that. I am going to fight for lower taxes, fight to eliminate the tax on Social Security, and advocate for the timber and mining industries, which are under assault by the Twin Cities DFL. I hope to earn your vote this November. To learn more about my campaign, visit my website, thomasfor3a.com. I look forward to hearing from you.
Next on our Meet Your Candidates coverage, we'll hear from the candidates running in Senate District 10. That district encompasses all of Aiken and Crow Wing counties. We'll first hear from the Republican incumbent CARRIE RUUD, followed by Democrat Steve Samuelson.
Hi, I'm Senator CARRIE RUUD from Breezy Point, the heart of Senate District 10. I am honored to serve both Aiken and Crow Wing counties. I work very hard to serve all the people in Senate District 10, from veterans to families, seniors, and of course, our business community. I'm the former mayor of Breezy Point, and my husband and I are small business owners for over 30 years in our community. I am unapologetically pro-life, a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment and law enforcement, and I ask for your vote November 3rd. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Steve Samuelson. I'm running for the state senate in Senate District 10. I am endorsed by the DFL and endorsed by unions. I feel that I can represent everybody fairly, with an open mind, and with integrity. I won't lie. I already went through a lifetime in my active alcoholism, telling lies, and that's a lot of work. So I don't do that anymore. It's been 30 some odd years. Everybody really needs to get out and vote, because this election, to me, is more important than so many that we've had. Elections have consequences, and everybody needs to at least have their voice heard, so we know where we stand at the end of the day.
Our final legislative race this week is Minnesota Senate District 5, where 4 people are seeking office. The district in northern Minnesota includes the western portion of Itasca County, all of Cass County, and a small portion of southeastern Beltrami County. We'll hear first from Democrat Rita Albright, followed by Dennis Barsness, running with the Grassroots Legalized Cannabis Party, and then Republican incumbent Justin EICHORN.
I'm Rita Albright, running for Senate District 5. As your senator, I'll put my experience as a former business owner, community leader, and mayor to work for you. My northern Minnesota upbringing and values have served me well in my 8 years as mayor of Bemidji. Hard work, responsibility, and honesty. One thing I've learned being mayor for 8 years is that getting things done means working together. Leadership is more than just showing up in St. Paul and voting with your party. Leadership is about engaging with folks in the district, understanding their needs, and finding common ground to get things done. As your state senator, I'll focus on what we value most in northern Minnesota: good paying jobs, quality education and job training programs, and health care people need, and protecting our outdoor heritage. I'm Rita Albright, and I'm asking for your vote for Senate District 5.
I'm Dennis Barsness. I'm looking for your support for Minnesota Senate District 5. If you were to judge me on just 3 things alone, you could say my work as a PCA, that's personal care assistant, shows that I care about people and I want to help those that can't help themselves. My work as a janitor says that I like to clean messes up, and I'm good at doing that. And my work as a mechanic says I fix things, and I do fix things, and I fix things all the time. So I'm looking for your support, and I've been given this 1 minute just to ask for your help. Thank you.
Hi, I'm your state senator, Justin EICHORN. For the last 4 years, I've been fighting for our way of life in St. Paul, and with your blessing, I would love to continue to serve you. I'm pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, and support good union jobs, and projects like Line 3 and Polymet. I stand for less taxes, less government, and more freedom for all Minnesotans. We need a strong advocate to stand up and fight for what is right and what is best for our communities, and I'm your guy. In my tenure in the state Senate, Republicans stopped a 20 cents per gallon gas tax, post-birth abortion, and currently we're fighting against California emission standards that could take away our SUVs and F-150s. We also passed the first middle-class tax cut in decades to help families like yours and mine. With your support, I would love to continue fighting for northern Minnesota and our way of life. Whether you're voting early or heading to the polls, on November 3rd, I need your vote.
The 4th candidate in the Senate District 5 race is Robin Smith of the Legal Marijuana Now Party. Smith did not respond to our request to submit a video for our program. Theater Department is holding its first performance since COVID struck, and because of the pandemic, they've taken their performances outdoors. The performance of Shakespeare's Henry V kicked off last week. The show has an elevated dramatic feel to it with the outdoor elements. Actors are taking to ladders as props and using the back of their stage in UMD's Ordine Court as a dressing area. Theater Department head Mark Harvey says the pandemic has had a big impact on their department. He expects the rest of their plays, at least until April, to be all online, but is glad the community could see Henry V in person.
One of the messages I think is real important is that our audience come and recognize that there are solutions to the problems we have in the world. plays don't really give answers. They just lift questions up. And this play talks about, well, is it possible for two different cultures to get along? Is it possible for people with different languages to recognize the value of the other? I mean, I think those are issues that Shakespeare lifts up 400 years ago. And so now to do the play now, it's just as relevant as it was then.
Harvey says this is the only outdoor theater going on right now, and there has been a lot of interest in the performances. The final opportunity to see a show is on Saturday, October 3rd. Well, that's going to do it for our show this week, but you can keep up with Almanac North by following us on social media. You'll find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Visit the WDSE website for program updates, upcoming events, and more information about the station. And download the PBS video app for on-demand viewing of your favorite programs. Thanks to our guests and to the crew here in the studio, and from all of us at WDSE WRPT, congratulations, Larry Erickson. We'll miss you, and we wish you all the best in your next adventure. I'm Julie Zenner. Stay healthy, everyone. We'll see you next time.